Interpersonal Topic by Colby Speaks and Kaylee Johann. How does active listening impact interpersonal communication? Active listening is face-to-face understanding each other, signs of active listening, hand gestures, or face expressions. Interpersonal communication is two or more people, verbal and nonverbal cause, accomplish personal or rational goals.
In the textbook Interplay, The Process of Interpersonal Communication by Ronald B. Alder, it talks about active listening in the seventh chapter. In the section called Mindful Listening, it talks about how active listening could be the matter of life or death. For example, a woman called Ellen Lagner once didn't listen to her grandmother about chest pains and she put it off as being old, but it turned out to be more serious than that. A couple quotes that help us understand the textbook's point of view of mindful listening are: we often need to listen consciously and carefully to what others are telling us, on page 199 of the book. You can control the way you listen, page 201 of the book. Some broad listening styles the textbook discusses are task-oriented listening, which is being concerned with getting something done right then and there; relational listening, which is being concerned with building emotional closeness with others; analytical listening, which is focused with hearing the whole message and coming up with a conclusion at the end; and lastly, critical listening, which is the strong desire to assess the message. The textbook shows that these listening styles to show that you can learn to actively listen to effectively communicate.
William Young, he talked about the power of listening. We listen not just to the words, but to what's behind the words. We listen for underlying emotion, feelings, and needs. There is so much noise and distraction, we cannot listen to the other side. Halt. Halt whatever you are doing and offer your full attention. Reflect. Reflect back to when you heard. Just tell them that you were really listening. Enjoy. Enjoy and breathe as you choose to receive whatever is being communicated to you, wanted or unwanted.
In the research paper, The Importance of Elements of Active Listening in Didactic Communication, a student's perspective by Flavia Molavinu, Luisa Inachi Vasleanu, explains that active listening is about analyzing and memorizing a message carefully and responding back with emotion and evaluation. To quote the text, active listening has been defined as a person's willingness and ability to hear and understand. After doing the questionnaire, in which consisted of 100 students and faculty members, the authors came up with the conclusion that it is important for both parties of the conversation to show active listening. In the book Deeper Discussion by Educational Leadership, it explains that listening also needs a conversation. Listening has to do with mutual respect for one another. In my personal experience, active listening needs both parties to be respectful, or you can't mindfully listen when the other person is not willing to. This is not communication.
Communication is important. When I was volunteering at the Hisparia Library, I have to work with other volunteers and help people to find their books or movies. There is no effective way of listening to someone if someone is not listening to you. The most personal experience of mine are being with families and friends.
In the textbook and research, the information isn't completely consistent in the information given. Also, in the textbook and personal experience, it's not consistent. However, with the personal experience and research, it is. For example, the textbook discusses that active listening is a very important part of communication. Both the personal experience and research supports this. Something the personal experience and research supports, but the textbook does not, is that if you learn the most effective way to actively listen, you will be able to successfully communicate. However, the personal experience and research refute that both parties need to be effectively listening to be able to successfully work. In conclusion, the textbook, personal experience, and research all come up with the verdict that actively listening is very important, but both parties need to be mindfully listening to effectively communicate.
With Kaylee, I do agree with her that the textbook is not complete. Don't show everything, but with research, more because information change every time, every day, change constantly. Not always the same, it's always different. With research, we have learned that we research with communication, we need to understand each other. If you don't, then you won't get anything done, no progress, no nothing. We also need to learn how to communicate properly without confusing the people who different from here. For example, if someone said, "Can you throw a pepper at me?" and people don't really understand. People who are foreign don't get that. In our turn, mean give them. Can you pass the pepper? Someone think toss the pepper, you think throwing at them. That is completely different meanings. So you have to be really careful about meanings.
Lastly, this is the works cited page.